Let's get to the top 10 defenders as I see them for the 2025 NFL draft. I'm going to go 10 to 1, like I always do with all of these lists. I like this list a lot. I think it's a good draft defensively, and you can see that depth in the top 10. At number 10, I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle at Michigan. I think he's going to be an excellent pro. He's young. He's huge. He is very athletic, and he's a guy that I could see just getting better and better and better. And maybe at the end of this, he could be the best defender from this draft 10 years from now. He's got that type of upside. There's no doubt. Are there guys with more polish right now? Yeah. His teammate, Mason Graham, you're going to see him later in this list, is more polished right now. But Grant is an absolute specimen. I just remember him running down Katron Allen in that 2024 game against Penn State, and he like hawks him down. And I'm like, dude, this guy is 6'4", 330 pounds and was moving. He's strong. He's violent on the inside. So I really like Kenneth Grant. He's number 10. At number 9, I've got Mike Green on the edge from Marshall. Covered him in their game against Ohio State this last year. And I just remember talking with their coach, Coach Huff. Charles Huff was their coach. And I remember talking to him, and Charles Huff had spent some time in his coaching tenure at Alabama. And so we started talking about Mike Green, and he said, oh, man, Mike Green could have started at Alabama, any of those Alabama teams. Like he's that good, he's that athletic, and he's got that mentality. He works hard. He's one of our best practice players. He's twitchy. He gets after the quarterback. He's got great instincts. And so I'm going into the game and I'm thinking to myself, is he really that good? And then he showed that during the game. He was excellent against Ohio State. And that was even before Ohio State had some of their offensive line issues. So I was very impressed with him. And then he led the nation with 17 sacks. So I really like Mike Green. Maybe not the measurables that you would love, but he's certainly a guy that can be productive. At number 8, I've got Jihad Campbell, the linebacker at Alabama. Now, I think he could have had more production in college, but they moved him around a lot. He played on the inside as a linebacker. He can play outside as an edge player. It was basically wherever they needed him, which tells me that he's a smart player. And I remember talking with Kane Womack before that game. He was their defensive coordinator, and he did talk about Jihad Campbell and his ability to know and learn and perfect multiple positions. Not easy to do. Originally, he came to Bama as an edge guy. He had to move inside and played it a little bit more this year. But Campbell is a really solid player. And so I've got him in my top 10. At number 7, I've got Michael Williams. He's edge player from Georgia. So Michael Williams, here's the thing. I think he's got elite top-end ability. I really do. He had a bit of an ankle injury, and I felt like that kept him from having his best year that he probably could have. If you go back in his career, he was maybe better early in his career. He was a freshman All-American. He was highly recruited. His pro day was a little underwhelming, which is, I thought it would be better, to be honest with you. And when I saw some of those numbers, I was like, that's not great. But when you turn on the film, and in particular games that you want to see him play well, like against Kelvin Banks from Texas, he plays well. 2 sacks apiece in each of those Texas matchups. So when he was going against NFL guys across the line of scrimmage, he was productive. So that's certainly a feather in his cap moving forward. All right, number 6, I've got from, speaking of Texas, corner, Thorpe Award winner, Jahdae Barron. Now, Barron, I've covered him for quite a while. I really loved Texas's secondary. You remember a couple of years ago, their secondary had some weaknesses, and their pass defense had some weaknesses, and they shored that up this last season. He was excellent. He was a big reason why they were better against the pass. And that was a unit that was one of the only units to really slow down Ohio State's passing game, in particular in the playoffs. Then he goes out there and he runs a 4.39 40, and I'm like, you bet, man. Give me Jahdae Barron all day long. Really good in coverage. He's tough. He was a good leader for them. And he's certainly a guy that's going to be really good in the locker room as well. So he's number 6. All All right, number 5. Jalen Walker, linebacker at Georgia. I got him at number 5. He can play traditional linebacker. He can pop out and play over on the edge. He destroyed Texas in that first meeting. That defense from Georgia played so well down in Austin. That's been a fun tape to watch. He had 3 sacks. That was against Kelvin Banks and all those experienced offensive linemen. He's been dealing with some injuries as well. So he's had a quad. He's going to have to do a private workout because of that. So we didn't really get to see him wow in this entire process as a public, but I'm sure he's going to do that in private. But a guy that I really believe in, and I think he could be and will be a really great pro. Now, this one's a little bit more, I don't know, like what's the word? Controversial. So you hear me mentioning about these injuries, and I know that the NFL decision makers have to weigh the injuries, and I understand that. Maybe it's not my money, so I haven't been burned by it. But like I look at when they were healthy, and I think to myself, man, that's tantalizing. And that's why at number 4, I've got a guy that has been slipping a little bit in this process because of his health, but Will Johnson, the corner at Michigan. I think that that's one of the reasons why his stock has dropped a little bit, because when healthy, I think it's easy to put him in there as essentially the top corner in the draft. Maybe he and Travis Hunter right there. He's got incredible instincts. He's tough. He defends in zone well. He defends in man coverage well. He's got terrific instincts. He beats the wide receiver to the spot several times. He did it in the Big Ten championship game when he was just a freshman against Purdue on the clip that you're seeing in on YouTube right now. He did it to Marvin Harrison Jr. when he beat Marvin Harrison Jr. inside on a slant, intercepted that ball. That's the clip that you're seeing right now on YouTube. Excellent instincts and a really smart player. He's long. He's got good bloodlines, but he's dealing with turf toe. And I can just tell you from experience, like turf toe is brutal and it never goes away. And those of us that have dealt with turf toe know that you're never really yourself. So Will Johnson is there at 4, but almost a bit of an asterisk just because of that. Also been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring throughout this process, but a hamstring I'm not worried about. You can get over the hamstring. The turf toe is a different beast, and hopefully he can get it healed, and hopefully he can be at 100%, because if he is, I think he could be one of the better corners in the NFL in a couple of years. Now we get into my top 3 defensive players, and truth be told, these are my top 3 players overall in the entire draft. Now, I'm going to rate them just as defenders, okay? In my top 50 players, my 1 and 2 will be flipped, but that's only because there's a certain player that you can't just look at one side of the football. So that's going to preface that. At number 3, though, it's not that player. It's Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. This guy is an incredible player. He's got probably the best balance, leverage, strength combination that I've seen in a defensive tackle in a long time. He is very athletic, although doesn't look it. He's tough. He almost single-handedly, I'll say this, he and Kenneth Grant basically beat Ohio State this last year. They were that dominant on the interior. Mason Graham is an incredible player. He really is. He's got great hands. He was a heavyweight wrestling champ in the state of California before going out to Michigan. He produces a great pass rush from the interior. He can immediately come in and shore up your run defense. He does it all. And very rarely do you have a guy like that plays on the interior. He destroyed the Buckeyes in that game. I mean, people are going to turn that film on and just be like, oh my gosh. And they'll be right. They'll be right. He's a terrific player. Sees double teams constantly, destroys them, doesn't matter to him. Again, combination of strength, leverage, instincts. It's really good. Really good. At number 2, I'm going to have Travis Hunter, the corner at Colorado. If you look at him just as a corner, he's an elite corner. He's got great ball skills, and he's got everything that you would want to see. The play that he made in his first game as a Buff, and you're seeing that one on YouTube right now, that interception inside the 5-yard line against TCU was one of the best interceptions I've ever seen. He falls off of his man, and he dives right in front of the football. And then you constantly see him in the right spot at the right time. You constantly see him being sticky in coverage. He's tough in coverage. I wish he was a little bit longer, and that's something that A.O. Manor against Stanford, not this year, but last year, kind of took advantage of his size. But I look at this guy, and I'm just like, he's a dog. The fumble that he caused against Baylor, again, willing to stick his head in there, make tackles, make plays, constantly around the football. He's going to be a total game changer. He not only has elite wide receiver skills, but he brings those same ball skills to the opposite side of the football as a defensive back. So just as a corner, he's a top 10 corner or top 10 defender in this draft, and I've got him at number 2. And at number 1 is Abdul Carter, the edge player at Penn State. Abdul Carter is such a good player. Love watching him play. I actually called his very first game that he ever played at Penn State, at least. And I remember talking with James Franklin about Abdul Carter and his recruiting process. And he was like, yeah, I mean, we gave number 11 to this kid because we know he's going to be a great player. And then he turned out to be a great player. It just so happened, though, that was the lead up to his career. I'm doing that opener against Penn State. And the first snap that he got in the game, he got a targeting call. Literally his first snap in college football for Penn State, he got a targeting call and he had to leave the game against Purdue. What a stupid rule. We need to blow that rule up and never bring it back. He moved from linebacker to defensive end this last year, and he did it so naturally and fluidly that it, in a lot of ways, almost shocked me. Led the nation with 23.5 tackles for loss. He was dominant against Notre Dame, and he wasn't even fully healthy. Basically, with one arm, he goes out there, he has 7 quarterback pressures, a sack, and 3 run stops against Notre Dame in that college football playoff game. They really should have won that game. Does have a bit of a foot issue right now, kind of a stress fracture deal. It's kept him from working out in this process. So, but trust me when I tell you, he's an athletic freak. He's 6'3", he's 250 pounds, and this guy is going to immediately make any defense that he's on better. And again, his versatility, I don't want to put the Micah comp on him just yet, but what Dallas does moving Micah around, you can do with Abdul Carter. He's that versatile. You can back him off and play him in nickel. You can rush him in a 2-point stance from the interior. You can put him on the edge. He can be dominant from every one of those areas on the field, and that's why he's my top defensive player in this draft. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.